the Baen Free Radio Hour.
Hello and welcome to the Baen Free Radio Hour. This week, Jeremy Comeaux interviews the inestimable Tim Powers on his most recent Baen offering, the historical fantasy, The Mills of the Gods. And later, we continue with the serialization of One Jump Ahead by Mark L. Van Name, Part 40.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode. I am your host, Jeremy Comeaux. That is enough about me. We all know why you're here. It's to meet our illustrious guest, Mr. Tim Powers. He is a multiple award-winning author, has been writing for many years, and we'll be talking about some of those awards coming up. So, Tim, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I sent you an email before starting this, saying that I'd read the book and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I really had a good time reading this book. But before we get into it, let's talk about some of the awards and things that you've won. And I read that you're the on Simon and Schuster, that you're the progenitor to steampunk genre, and you're known for your science fiction, and let's talk about that with the awards that you've won for that.
The steampunk thing, K.W. Jeter invented the term in, I think, 1987 to describe some novels that he and me and James Blaylock had written, which all happened to take place in 19th century London. And since they were all published at roughly the same time and we all knew each other, and he applied that name to it, it made it look as if we three had invented the subgenre of steampunk. Actually, of course, there are a number of books that are clearly what we would call steampunk. Michael Moorcock, Harry Harrison all wrote stories like that. But since Jeter invented the term and pointed at himself and me and Blaylock as he invented it, we've kind of become honorarily the founders of steampunk. It's not valid, but I kind of like it.
It's fun, yeah. But you're a multiple award winner. You've also written for Disney.
Not exactly. I didn't write for Disney. Disney, when they started the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, said that if this becomes a series and we do a fourth episode, we'll buy your old book on Stranger Tides, which was pirates and zombies and Blackbeard and all that. And so my wife and I made sure to see the next two movies first day to add our little vote. Look, it's a popular franchise. You need to make a fourth.
Yes.
And then luckily they did, and they did buy my old book. They didn't use a great deal of it, but who cares? There was my name in the credits, and for a month, I got to show off real effectively.
That's amazing. I love that. And what awards have you won?
The Philip K. Dick Award twice, which was fun because I knew Philip K. Dick during the last 10 years of his life. Locus Award 3 times, World Fantasy Award 3 times, which was fun because it was a bust of H.P. Lovecraft. So it's kind of a cool little statue to have on a shelf. And then some other stuff, the Mythopoeic Award, World Horror Award. One that was fun was the Forrest J. Ackerman Award for lifetime service to the field of science fiction.
Oh, wow.
I don't know exactly what my service might have been, but it's kind of a cool fan credential. Hey, check it out. I got the Forrest Ackerman Award.
That's awesome. Well, You're also known for the intense amount of research that you do for each book, and it shows, especially in this book. And I admitted to you before we started recording that this is my my first Tim Powers novel, and it will not be my last. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's how is it alternate history? How would you describe it?
I would describe it as secret history,
Okay.
and not alternate history, because I want to emphasize I've had books set in uh, Los Angeles,
Mhm.
London, Beirut, etc. I want to emphasize, no, it's not an alternate Los Angeles or
Mhm.
Paris. It's the one you can go visit. Uh, the events of the book are simply events that history did not record. But no, this I work very hard at not contradicting any aspect
Mhm.
of the history or places or people that I'm writing about. So I figure if my stuff is alternate history, um, Herman Wouk was writing alternate history when he wrote The Winds of War, for
Mhm.
example. His characters didn't actually exist, so it's alternate to that extent.
Mhm.
But all the events are real. And yeah, the research um, serves a couple of purposes. For one thing, I'm always aware in writing fantasy that the events of the story are bogus, are impossible. There aren't ghosts, vampires, ancient
Mhm.
gods. And I want the reader to forget that for the duration of the book. I want them to be tricked into thinking, no, look, it's LA, it's Paris, it's Rome, and there's, real history. I guess this is real. And so every bit of real world shoring up uh, helps to establish that delusion that this is real. Look, check it out. And also, maybe even more importantly, using real history, places, events gives me for free all kinds of cool places and people and customs and superstitions
Mhm.
that I couldn't begin to make up on my own. Um, a lot of times when I'm doing research, basically what I'm looking for is things that are too cool not to use.
Mhm.
This place, this person, this event. And once I've got 20 or 30 things that are too cool not to use, by definition, I've got 20 or 30 pieces of my book
Mhm.
for free. I mean, all I had to do was look them up. And the task at that point is connect the dots.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
if I had to make it all up the way J.R.R. Tolkien did, I'd have to start by inventing a whole world with history and culture and all that, which would be extra work.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love about this book and I guess urban fantasy or contemporary fantasy. They're usually built in cities that we know and that we've heard of, and it's easier for me at least to get into the book. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have to as a reader. I don't have to work as hard
Yeah.
to
The
memorize
book,
all these things.
yeah, the book doesn't need a map at the beginning,
Hmm.
because if you want to check out where the characters are going, go to Google Maps. You can see where they're going.
I have to admit, during this book, and I mean, let's tell people what we're talking about: the
Go
Mills of
ahead.
the Gods. We're talking your latest book that comes out December 2nd,
Yes,
correct? And it's set in Paris mostly.
mostly.
And I have to admit, I did some Googling while I was reading it, and these are real places, real streets. You know, the names of the streets and everything, and I thought that was really really cool. And to your point, all you got to do is pull up a map of Paris, and you know where people are going and the locations, and you've got real historic figures. in the book, which was also very and for me it was real fun because I'm not a huge history buff, and so I don't realize what some historical figures kind of overlap in time, and like they were all in this one location at this particular time, and that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, ideally, a reader doesn't need to know who Hemingway was, or Picasso, or Gertrude Stein.
Mhm.
The reader is free to imagine that all the characters are fictitious.
Yeah.
If the reader happens to know Hemingway was there, the reader can look up. There's a beautiful book, massive Hemingway chronology,
Hmm.
and Gertrude Stein and Picasso. You can look up their biographies. If a reader looks them up, the reader will find that yeah, Picasso was there then. Hemingway did do that on the date I say he did it.
Hmm.
And so I don't contradict any of the historical story. I just sort of point out motivations that aren't otherwise evident.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it because it's like, oh, I know that guy, and then I go and I did the same thing. I went and Googled him. I didn't know anything about Stein, but I knew I knew the other two characters and how you um, made them pivotal to the story, but not the the main characters of the story, but pivotal and using history and everything. I found that amazing. It was it was fun, and but then you still had this amazing fantasy story. Well, and I don't want to give away. I want you to give away as much as you want to give away. But I found it amazing how you use historical figures in that without recreating history.
Yeah, and of course you got to be careful when you're using actual historical figures,
Mhm.
not to have them do or say things they would not have done or said.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't want to. For one thing, it would seem rude to gratuitously have them really violate what we can know of their real character.
Mhm.
I was kind of mean to Picasso, but I think he deserved it. Uh,
Just a little bit, not yeah. So what made you get into this kind of writing? I'm assuming you're a big history buff.
yeah, yeah. More so since I started writing.
Mm-hmm.
But it started with back in, good Lord, it must have been 1976.
Mm-hmm.
A British publisher came up with the idea of having 10 novels about King Arthur reincarnated throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in World War II, chopping open Nazi tanks with Excalibur. And me and K.W. Jeter and Ray Nelson were hired to write these 10 books. And it had never occurred to me to write a historical fantasy, but I thought, well, okay. And I wrote a book set in 1529 when the Turks were besieging Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a East versus West, very crucial watershed moment. We'd all be speaking Arabic today if the Turks had won.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the British publisher, on seeing a couple of the books we wrote, decided it was a terrible idea and canceled the project. But the three of us were left holding novels about reincarnated King Arthur
Mm-hmm.
with no particular market, and quickly looked around thinking, I'm going to sell mine before you sell yours, and everybody gets sick of this idea.
Uh-huh.
Mine luckily went to Lester Del Rey, who made me tear it to pieces and rewrite it entirely, way to its benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was eventually published in 1979 as The Drawing of the Dark. And at that point, I had come to realize the advantages of historical fantasy, the plausibility and verisimilitude that you get by real people, real events, and the benefit of getting so much of your background and events for free. They already exist. You just have to find them.
Yeah.
And so I've largely kept that up. I kind of alternate between historical fantasies like Mills of the Gods, or my previous one, My Brother's Keeper, which was about the Bronte sisters in Yorkshire in the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
I alternate those with contemporary Los Angeles just because it's right here in that direction, an hour away, and it is endlessly full of intriguing history and weird enigmas that call for explanation. And LA, I always use LA's history. So in a way, they're historical fantasies too.
Yeah. No, I what I love about historical fantasy is the what if aspect of it. You know, it's like in real life, it's and it's why I love urban fantasy, historical fantasy, things like that, where it's like, yeah, this is the world that you know, but what if behind the scenes, magic,
right. And sometimes the research plays into your hands in that in anybody's biography, there are things they do that make no sense, that are just stupid, counterproductive. I mean, you think, well, maybe they were drunk. I don't know. And so I try to find those inexplicable actions and say, no, it wasn't stupid if you know the whole story. Actually, that was a very shrewd move, given this backstory, which history has failed to note. And that's kind of fun with Blackbeard or Percy Shelley or Thomas Edison. I've found things they did that you think, well, was he crazy? And I think, no, let's say he wasn't crazy if you knew this. And this is always some supernatural backstory.
That's amazing. I love that. So do you have a particular period and location of history that you really like, or you're just a fan of history in general?
I think I like 19th century England. I find it real compatible. A real citizen of London would probably be able to say, in fact, sometimes has said, well, no, you got this wrong. It's obvious you're an American. But yeah, 19th century is full of characters and political events and wonderful locations. So I think I always sort of look to 19th century England first, and sometimes decide, well, no, I don't. I think I'll go some other way. I think I'll go 20th century Paris, for example. But it's always kind of that corner of the globe, England, Ireland, Europe is where. Yeah, I guess that's where I mostly, read histories and biographies of.
So how many books have you written in that region?
I don't know, 6. Probably 6.
All right, awesome. So, you've been writing for a long time. What got you into writing? And were you always a writer? Were you, like, when you were a little kid, you wanted to be a writer, or did just something happen to you that made you say, you know what, I think I'd be good at this?
I think, like probably most writers, I got totally picked up by reading books
Mm-hmm.
and very young,
Mm-hmm.
and inevitably thought, "Oh, I want to do it too."
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be a consumer, but I want to be a producer of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and other things never struck me that way. I mean, I love movies, old and new, but I've never been tempted to write screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I
Which,
love,
especially where you are, yeah, in
yeah,
California.
right. No kidding. I'm an hour from LA. But I grew up figuring out how books are made.
Mm-hmm.
As far as movies, I'm simply a happy customer. I
Mm-hmm.
just I just sit there and think, wow, this is great. How did they do it? I don't know. Magic beats me. Um, but in 1961, when I was 9 years old, my mother got me a copy of Robert Heinlein's book Red Planet,
Mm-hmm.
and that fixed all my dials in one position. I went on to read all of Heinlein, and then I noticed that there were other books with rocket ships on the cover,
Mm-hmm.
and I read all of those, and it kind of fixed me forever
Mm-hmm.
in the science fiction fantasy field. I can't imagine writing a novel about just people, getting divorced or something. Um, I couldn't get 2 chapters in before somebody would start getting phone calls from his dead grandfather. Um, but yeah, I sold my first book 50 years ago, and it's all been derived from being exposed to that one Heinlein book when I was 9 years old.
So, when you're reading for fun these days, what are you reading?
Actually, I mostly read kind of spy, police, courtroom dramas, Elmore Leonard, John le Carre, Dick Francis,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of I endlessly reread John D. MacDonald and Peter O'Donnell, who
Mm-hmm.
wrote a series of books about a character named Modesty Blaze, and Raymond Chandler. I do still keep up with science fiction and fantasy, though just between you and me, uh, it's mostly rereading. I go back
Mm-hmm.
to Fritz Leiber, Theodore Sturgeon, Philip K. Dick, Heinlein, Lovecraft, Henry Kuttner. Um, I haven't really kept up with the field at its current cutting edge,
Mm-hmm.
or even yesterday's cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in spite of all the John D. MacDonald, Raymond Chandler type reading I do, every story I think of is still deriving from that childhood inoculation
Mm-hmm.
with science fiction and fantasy.
Yeah. You like what you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, you were talking about movies, because fans want to get to know you. What movies are you into? I know you said you were a consumer of movies. What do you like?
Oh, start at the beginning. I'm my wife and I are big fans of the silent movies.
Mm,
Eric von Stroheim, D.W. Griffith, uh, actresses like Mary Pickford and Lillian Gish, up through um, Busby Berkeley, things like 42nd Street and Gold Diggers of 1933. Um,
are those easy to get a hold of?
Everything's on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Uh, um, and then Fellini, Kubrick,
Oh, wow.
and more modern movies like I've very much liked Logan,
Yeah.
Man on Fire,
Very good.
Moonstruck. I think my favorite movie is probably Casablanca.
It's a great one.
Every time I see that, I think, wow, this really is good. It's yeah.
Well, it fits your writing too.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very broad range. 1940s romantic comedies, His Girl Friday. It's very broad footprint in movies. But I've never, as I said, I've never been tempted to write them. I'm happy to just be a consumer.
Yeah. So let's talk about the book. It's set in Paris, and in the early or mid 1920s.
1925. Right.
1925. And I before we started recording, I was going to ask you, parlez-vous français, and because people look at my last name, it's French, and I was going to embarrass myself about how little French I actually spoke, because I told Tim that I can curse and count, and that's about it. But those are the important things. But so this is you don't have to know any French to read this book.
No. No, I don't read French myself. And when I put in a French sentence in dialogue, I always make it clear by the context or the response what the remark was.
Right. Yeah. So you're not. I can attest you're not left hanging reading this book if you don't understand French. But and I was telling Tim that I'm embarrassed because both of my parents are fluent French speaking people from Louisiana, and they were embarrassed about how bad my French is. And I was very thankful for the translations, because I was trying just to read the French and seeing if I could translate it in my head, and I was like, oh, thank God he translated it for me.
Well, also, fortunately, my main characters all spoke English.
Exactly.
And frequently in the book, somebody will say, oh, would you be more comfortable if I spoke in English? And I think, well, the author certainly would be. and I bet the readers would be too.
Yeah. So this is the second book in a row that has been set in a very unique location and a very unique period in time. The one that I read before this was set in 1935 Mexico. And this one's 19. So it's I've been getting a lot of culture lately, and I really enjoyed it. One, it made me look some things up. I knew of Picasso, I knew of Hemingway, but not a ton. And so I go and I read this book. Kind of got me interested in wanting to learn a little bit more about those people, and I really enjoyed that. But what really kept me in it was, the actual story, the magic that was being used. It was very unique to me. I didn't know some of the without the deities that you used and things like that were very unique to me. I hadn't heard of those before. And if you want to talk about any of that.
Well, it boiled down to the old Phoenician god Moloch.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie that was made in about 1922, maybe earlier, Cabiria, an Italian, it would have been like 1916 probably, about Carthage and Rome, and it worked out to be sort of smoothly called for by the situation of Europe between the wars after World War I, and the kind of recoil that culture had after World War I. And then given Moloch, who would be the natural counter, positive to Moloch's negative. And it worked out to be Cybele, a goddess who originated in Phrygia, I think. And during the Punic Wars, when Rome was at war with the whole Phoenician Empire and losing, and Moloch being the power behind the Phoenician Empire, Rome imported Cybele worship, which was a sort of a last-ditch effort to survive against the overwhelming odds in the war. And then Rome did prevail and wiped out Carthage and the whole Phoenician Empire. And so I say that Rome won because they got Cybele's help. And then, as I say, it fit very smoothly into the situation, which you always try to find. You always want to have the supernatural element derive plausibly from the situation. You don't want to import some body of mythology into a context where it really is at odds, doesn't fit, isn't compatible.
No, I enjoyed it because it wasn't something that everybody uses. It's like it wasn't Greek, it wasn't necessarily Roman. I had never heard of. I think I might have heard vaguely of Moloch before, but I'd never heard of both of them. Didn't know a whole lot about them, and that was very interesting to me. Where Roman or Greek gods, or everybody learns about that in school and all that, and that's what made this book very unique. And I was like, oh, what do these gods do? What are their what are they known for? And it was very interesting. And again, it got me from the one book I've read of yours, and I'm assuming your others are like this too. It inspires curiosity in topics, in history and everything. So, because I caught myself Googling all kinds of stuff while reading your book, because I had never heard it. So, oh, is this a real, deity or mythology? And it was very cool.
Yeah, I always kind of hope the readers will say, well, is this real? Did Powers make this up? Because when they go to look it up, I've written about Einstein, Lord Byron, Christina Rossetti, any number of historical figures. And I like to think that readers could go and look it up and come to the conclusion, my God, this is real. Powers didn't make it up. It must be a true story.
True adjacent.
Yeah.
Also, the creepy kids got me.
Yeah. I think now that you mentioned it, I think I've had creepy kids in a couple other books. It's all the way back to Ray Bradbury's The Small Assassin. There is, since kids are sort of by default supposed to be charming and innocent and, playful and inconsequential, I guess. It's kind of a nice reversal to posit a kid who is scary. Stephen King in Pet Sematary had a scary kid. It's kind of a nice shock.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The Shining, kids in The Shining and all that. Yeah, it's for some reason when a kid is that creepy, you kind of expect certain adults to be creepy if they're the bad guy or they're just creepy. It's not quite as off-putting as something that is supposed to be cute and adorable, and you want to protect it to be like, get the hell away from me.
Yeah, it turns around and gives you this smile that chills your blood. Yeah.
Exactly. And and I'm not going to say too much besides the fact there are creepy children in this book, but it was well used, and you're right. It's kind of a punch to it. It's like the uncanny valley. So like, you're not supposed to be like this. This is wrong.
Yeah. The uncanny valley is always a useful thing to use.
Mm-hmm.
You think of your parents turn out to be pod people in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
The person you thought you knew turns out to be a completely alien entity. That I think I've frequently used in books where a different person has taken over this up to now familiar person and is a familiar face, but an alien behind the face.
Exactly. It's always an effective tool. I don't and it doesn't matter if it's been used before. It's always effective. It's great.
Yeah, everything's been used before.
Exactly. So you write in these great locations, and I'm always my wife is also an author, and I always ask her, hey, write about this place so we can go visit and write it off on our so we can go visit. Besides LA, have you gotten to visit any of the places that you've written about?
To some extent, though mostly when I've been to those places, I didn't know I was one day going to write a book involving them. LA, Las Vegas, San Francisco, I can go there.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I have been to England and France, and been to many of the places that I've written about, but I'm always remembering it. Like, for example, in the last book, My Brother's Keeper, took place in Haworth in Yorkshire, where the Bronte sisters lived.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been there and walked around, but when we were there, I didn't know I was one day going to write a book set there.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself thinking, now, what was it like? Well, there's Google Maps. Go to Google Maps. You can drop down into the street and walk around.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Google Maps and YouTube
Mm-hmm.
are priceless research tools, because, Paris, I was able to drop into the streets and walk around Paris, which I did years ago, but not thinking of a book I'd write. And even just generically, if you were to write a fantasy involving medieval streets, there's plenty of them you can find with Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in one of my books, the characters were at the top of the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral in London.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to the cathedral, but I've never been up to the dome. But luckily, 1 million people have been up there and videoed it and posted it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Virtually any situation you might be writing about, and you haven't actually been there to experience it, go to YouTube. Somebody did, and they extensively videoed it.
That's amazing.
Notre Dame Cathedral. Some of my action in the book took place there, and everybody has walked through there, taken the stairs up to the towers, and posted it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's about. I've learned so many things by watching YouTube. I've passed classes by doing that. I've fixed things.
Anything break? How do I, fix this plumbing problem? Fix the car? Go to YouTube.
Yeah. So you're kind of known for your extensive research that you put into books. How long, for an average book of yours, how long does it take you to actually from when you get the idea and to the time that you're handing in a draft? How long does that take you on average?
Way too long.
Because
Year and a
I know
half.
there's a lot of research.
Yeah, probably a year and a half.
Okay.
Because when I start, all I've got is this looks like it's probably an interesting situation that you could hang a book on.
Mm-hmm.
Pirates in the Caribbean in the 18th century, the romantic poets all busy dying in Italy. I bet there's a story there.
Yeah.
And so I read extensively, making all kind of notes and reference files, cross-referencing my files, and looking for what may turn out to be the plot. I
Mm-hmm.
never approach the research with a plot already in mind in order to shore it up. I always approach it with no plot at all. I just think, okay, the research will tell me what my plot will be.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it works out to be a much more organic plot
Mm-hmm.
because it does arrive solely from what is there to be found. And then I try to sort of put together a plot, figure what kind of character could most effectively be injected into this and participate in all these events, and what kind of character would arrive with certain skills I'd want that character to have, but at the same time, areas of ignorance where that character is going to have to learn about this problem, culture, etc., along with the reader. And I always wind up making an outline, very extensive, very detailed. And I even usually make, it's right over there, a big calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And I write the events in the day squares. So, for example, I know how long ago was it that this happened? Oh, it was 3 weeks ago. At that point, once I figure I have the story completely laid out, I actually begin writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of as if everything up to then had been rehearsals, but now we're going to get out in the street with cameras.
Awesome.
Now we're doing it for real.
Yeah.
And yeah, it takes me about a year and a half.
Well, it's worth it. It was a very good book. So where did the idea for the Mills of the Gods come from?
Well, I guess basically I was familiar already with Hemingway. I'm a big Hemingway fan.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore peripherally with characters like F. Scott Fitzgerald, Picasso, Gertrude Stein. And in 1922, I think, 21, Hemingway was on vacation and his wife was going to join him and thought it would be nice to bring his manuscripts along so he could work on them on vacation. And so she put all of his manuscripts, everything he had ever written, into a briefcase and lost it on the train.
Oh, I didn't realize that was real. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was a devastating blow for Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it kind of led to the breakup of that marriage. There were other factors, but the loss of what at that time was his whole life's work really did hit him. And so I thought, well, where did the manuscripts wind up? Were they simply lost, which is probably true, or were they stolen? And if they were stolen, were they deliberately stolen? Again, unlikely. But yeah, let's say they were deliberately stolen. Okay, why? What was in them that somebody wanted to acquire or conceal? well, and then off I go.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, well, it looks like it would involve Gertrude Stein and Picasso. Okay, good. So read a bunch of biographies of them,
Mm-hmm.
and in their life stories, look for anomalies, look for things that make no evident sense, and calculate how those do make sense if you knew, and then you got to make it up,
Mm-hmm.
the structure which involves them and Hemingway's lost manuscripts and the person who stole them and why the person stole them. And they're, pretty soon you got this sort of web. I found myself not liking Picasso,
Mm-hmm.
and I found myself getting very fond of Gertrude Stein,
Mm-hmm.
which surprised me because I hate her writing. Um, it's it's gibberish. And so I didn't expect to like her, but when I researched her, I thought, she was a very admirable person.
Very strong character, yeah.
Yeah, really, really, in that crew of kind of loose cannons and egotists and largely bad people, she kind of shone as the one good person in the whole crowd.
Well, yeah, that comes through in the book for sure because she's a strong character in the book. Um, so, if you had to give your elevator pitch for this book, what would that be?
Um, it would. I've always hated the necessity new writers seem to feel to come up with elevator pitches.
Right.
They always think, I got to get a good elevator pitch for this. But I guess it would be a expatriate American living on a shoestring in Paris by doing illustrations finds himself teamed up with a orphan street girl in a millennia long conflict between two ancient gods being conducted in post-war Paris.
It's a good summation.
Ha.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really did enjoy it. It took me places I hadn't been before, as far as like knowledge and everything. Like, and now, thanks a lot. I gotta go do a bunch of homework now and go read up on some of these people. I've already done a little bit, but I gotta do a little bit more just on. But you don't have to enjoy the story. The story takes care of itself. It's very well done, very well paced out, and it's not a long read. It's concise, to the point, and very entertaining, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
And I recommend it to anybody who's into science fiction and or fantasy and history. It's a fun read, and I highly recommend it. And so, in addition to this, is there anything as far as like secret projects or not so secret projects that you have coming up or that you want to talk about?
It looks as if the next one will be involving Los Angeles and kind of sort of a Philip K. Dick for once an alternate reality impinging on the actual Los Angeles. Kind of in the mode of Philip K. Dick's Man in the High Castle.
Oh, wow.
In which, as you may recall, a character is living in the United States in 1960 and it's a United States in which Japan and Germany won World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, the character becomes aware that this is a false reality, that in the real world, they did not win World War II. But this is all plates spinning in the air, bowling pins being juggled. It may turn out to involve Alfred Lord Tennyson in London around 1900. Or no, he wouldn't have lived that long. 1850. Although he might have got to 1900 with a time machine. So it's all very much the coins are still spinning.
Okay. And if people wanted to get a hold of you or learn more about you and your writing and everything, where could they find you online, or do you have any public appearances coming up?
No public appearances anytime in the immediate future. I have a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
A publisher set up for me. Said, Powers, here, we've made this for you. Here's your password. Post on it. Oh, okay. And I have a Substack, which is free.
Mm-hmm.
Every week I post something about writing fantasy, which involves a lot of just writing fiction in general.
Mm-hmm.
So to that extent, but it would be tricky for me to become a new writer today, I think, because I have, if they said, well, how much of a Twitter following have you got, or X? I'd have to say, I barely know what those things are.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just be a good writer these days.
I know. I kind of always hope that's not true.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of beginning writers, and I hate to think that they have to spend an appreciable amount of time establishing an internet footprint in addition to actually writing books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always take a lot of comfort from something Eric Flint once said. He said that the best way to promote a book you've written is to write another book. And I think, okay, that I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because when and it's there's truth to that, because whenever I'm going to look at a book, it's like, all right, is this the start of a series or an end of the series? Or is this novelist's first time writing, or do they have other books? And so it makes a difference.
Yeah. You sort of want people to be at least vaguely aware of your name.
Mm-hmm.
Think, oh yeah, okay. This person wrote some other books. Yeah, okay. I'll read the first page, see if it picks me up.
Yeah. Well, Tim, I really appreciate you talking to me. This has been wonderful. I've enjoyed it. And everybody out in TV land, go buy his book. It's available on December 2nd. The Mills of the Gods. Highly entertaining and educational. and
only incidentally educational.
It's by accident. But I was very entertained by it, and it's a great story. It kept me engaged the entire time, and I highly recommend it. It's not just because I'm talking to your face right now, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed speaking to you. And hopefully, we'll get to talk the next time you have a book coming out. What, in the next year?
If I'm busy, if I really crank.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. Thank you all for watching, and go buy the book on December 2nd, and we'll see you all next time.
Very good. Thank you.
And now, as promised, one jump ahead. John Moore is a nanotech-enhanced soldier of fortune. Lobo is an AI, a living weapons and intelligence platform of enormous destructive potential. Two very dangerous wolves in a galaxy of deadly corporate and paramilitary predators. But Moore has grown weary of the killing, and just once he'd like to finish the job without leaving a trail of blood behind him. Not going to happen. Not on a pristine planet called Macon, where two gigantic corporations vie for control of the local jump gate and access to the riches of an undeveloped world. Dealing with a kidnapping and extortion scheme is only the beginning for Moore and Lobo as they work to stay one jump ahead.
"Here's the difference," I said. "This time I promise not to put you in storage if you can persuade me you can hide safely in orbit or elsewhere. Fair enough?" "Yes. And now I accept your apology." "Thank you. Now, load up another set of tourist shuttle codes and get us in the pack. We need to check out Zychek's HQ." The company's ornate structure perched on a cliff so close to the heart of Baen's deal that urban sprawl had brought construction right to its border. The building was thus much, much closer to the city than Oosterlaad's, and much grander as well. Easily 3 times as wide as Oosterlaad's, its rock face featured the Zychek logo superimposed on what at first glance appeared to be irregular raised asymmetric ovals in the rock. Upon further study, however, the carvings proved to be relief maps of all the solar systems where Zychek was active, their positions not true to light-year scale, but at least indicative of relative distances apart. Under magnification, Lobo's visual monitors revealed that what had appeared to be mere lumps in the orbits to mark the colonized planets were actually the faces of those planets, each face an accurate high-level map of an aspect of the planet as seen from its jump gate. Zychek had carved the entire surface of its structure from the native black cliffs, with the only additional highlighting being the degree to which its artisans had polished the various stone faces. The image struck me as the heavens might appear to a god holding the only light in creation after all the stars had burnt to black. I understood for the first time why so many tourists opened their wallets for this view. Perhaps later I'd spend some time appreciating the other structures, but not now. Now, we had to keep our focus on Zychek and learn what we could about Chung's habits. Lobo kept image-matching programs running on every person who came out of the Zychek building, and I started my exercises, thankful that unlike when I've been on ground surveillance duty, in Lobo I could move around without concern. After 3 days of flying the tourist shuttle rotation during the daytime and retreating to orbit each evening, I had to accept that kidnapping Chung during business hours was not going to be reasonably possible. He arrived every morning within 90 minutes of sunrise, his vehicle in the center of a heavily armed group of 8 escorts, a number I felt was unnecessarily high and a sign of willingness to waste money on Zychek's security's part. Chung came and went from the building frequently throughout the day to discharge his business and social duties, but the same escort vehicles always accompanied him. Other buildings stood right on the border of Zychek's, so Chung and his team always began each trip in a crowded area, and they stopped only at heavily populated spots. When he was on foot, guards stayed within reach at all times. I never caught them passing through desolate countryside during business hours. Lobo had more than enough firepower to destroy his entire escort team, of course. They were bodyguards, not soldiers in battle-armored vehicles. A direct attack, however, would not only result in a lot of conflict with the bodyguards, it would also almost certainly yield a great many civilian casualties, and enough collateral damage that the Frontier Coalition would have to join Zychek in hunting me down. With Oosterlaad's company likely to come after me once the new management settled in, and with Zychek already seeking me, I couldn't afford to attract any more pursuers. I'd have to go after him in his home. To do that, of course, I had to find his house and scout it. The first part was easy. As the light began to fade on Lankin, and the last of the tourists were murmuring appreciatively about the great views as their shuttles cruised on long, lazy arcs over the ocean and back to the city, Lobo headed for the lowest fairly crowded orbit we could find. A bottom feeder collection of relay sats, corporate spy and counter-spy bots, weather monitors, and automated zero-G fabs shared the orbit with us, and provided adequate cover. The heat signature of Chung's escort team was distinctive enough that Lobo could track it with his onboard sensors, so we waited a couple of hours until the man finally headed home. As we'd observed the previous days, he used exactly the same vehicle arrangement and headed initially straight into town.
This has been the Baen Free Radio Hour. Thanks for joining us at the heart of science fiction. Join us next week as Griffin Barber interviews Dan Cobalt on his latest Build-A-Dragon sequence novel, Dragons Gone Wild. And later, we continue with part 41 of One Jump Ahead by Mark L. Van Name. Score by Ruth Judkowitz.